Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to review Return to Monkey Island. This review was written by the wonderful Roland Ingram and converted into video by me. So, in 1990, Ron Gilbert created a seminal point-and-click adventure, The Secret of Monkey Island, and it grabbed hearts and hasn't let go for 32 years. A year later, in 1991, he concluded Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, which ended with a bombshell of a cliffhanger. Unfortunately, he departed with LucasArts in 1992, and the secret third part of his trilogy went down in legend like a sunken ship. Fan communities theorized, fantasized for a couple of decades about where this story might have been going, desperate for confirmation from Gilbert or his colleagues. Come 2013, yes, 20 years after he left, Gilbert wrote, and I quote, "I've always envisioned the game as a trilogy. Monkey Island is now owned by Disney, and they haven't shown any desire to sell me the IP. The fans' final grasp of what if was snuffed." He bemoaned April Fool's Day annually on his blog, staying proudly Fool's Day free for 18 years. He once tweeted, "If I ever get to make another Monkey Island, I'm going to announce it on April 1st. And you guessed it, April Fool's Day 2022, Ron Gilbert joked on his blog, "I've decided to make another Monkey Island." And here we are, the rest is history. To say Return to Monkey Island is hotly anticipated doesn't even capture the mental and emotional pilgrimage of the aging gamers who were swept away as children to the shores of Booty Island by a pair of taunting demonic eyes. This is an event game, and perhaps the only conceivable event game of what is, despite some scattered bright lines over the decades, a frustratingly staid genre. But what is this Return? A return to the past, retrograde fan service for millennials, a return to commercial interest, watered down Monkey Island to accommodate later sequels of dubious canonicity. Or could it be, maybe, a return to form for the graphic adventure genre, to when you didn't know what the point and click would do next and you were enraptured by what it did? Terrible Toy Box, under the direction of Ron Gilbert and Dave Grossman, has set out to deliver something new. But at the same time, the whole game is laced with musings of the question, what is the secret of Monkey Island? We're invited to join Guybrush on parallel expeditions in both the in-game secret and some bigger transcendental secret about what exactly we've been longing for all these years, and whether either of those really existed at all. It's been made immediately clear that this game is going to lean on its history. The title screen even directs players to a scrapbook that provides the overview of the story so far. This politely covers every Monkey Island game, but it's clear which ones are prioritized. Monkey Island 1 and 2 get glorious multi-page retelling through painted pictures in Return's new art style, where the Curse of Monkey Island gets tidy spread of high-level plot points. And then there are two other games. The most hypersensitive Monkey Island fans will detect a somewhat select respect of post-Gilbert works. Perhaps it was our imagination, but gentle digs are had at the directions the story was taken. When Guybrush looks back at the image of Elaine frozen into a statue in The Curse of Monkey Island, his remark that LeChuck thinks of her as furniture could easily be directed at the writers of that third game. It is emphasized at every opportunity that Elaine of the first two games never needed saving by Guybrush. It is a bit ironic though that Gilbert and co-writer Dave must take pains here to save her. For all this looking backwards at the series so far, Return to Monkey Island feels fantastically fresh. It owns the nostalgia around it and confidently spins that into the fabric of its story. So many new characters who immediately won our hearts over, friends and foes, and the great scale of the adventure allows space to bask in reimagined versions of familiar places, while also conjuring tons of new locales full of mystery and fun. The jokes and silly seriousness are fresher than they've ever been since 1991, picking the right moments to call back to classic lines, but not making them the main attraction. The new art style speaks for itself and is magnificent in motion, and of course it's also harvested for meta-fictional jokes.
You look different somehow. New art style?
The variety of perspectives on the action, the depth of the scenery, and the mouth-watering intricacy of characters' little worlds is outstanding. But the greatest triumph is probably the new interface, which provides a framework for every aspect of the game to hang together in a rich player experience. On Switch, this is with direct joystick control of Guybrush, using the R and L buttons to highlight interactive elements and cycle through them. This really provides the exploratory experience of hovering the mouse to investigate scenery. In a graphic adventure sense, there are no verbs, no on-screen selectable types of actions to apply to the objects in the world. However, in a more general sense, the verbs are infinite. Where some modern graphic adventures have reduced all interactions to do the thing to the thing, Return to Monkey Island displays text to show what pressing buttons will do. So instead of always seeing walk to, pick up, talk to, etc., Guybrush can brave, steal, clear the air with, praise the excellent, etc. This is treated as another space for the writers to play, a place for more jokes, surprises, and rewards for progression. The combination of this interface of graphics, the writing, the excellent voice work, and the new ideas and gleeful reworkings in the music is sublime. There's a really strong sense of authorial control over the whole experience, everything just flowing together to deliver a coherent version. A story of fun, adventure, deliverance, and sentimentality acted out through carefully designed and inspiring puzzles, laced together with set pieces and asides that just kept us laughing. Given the depth of the well of fan passion, it would have been absurd for Return to Monkey Island not to draw on it. Given the clamoring for specifically Ron Gilbert's follow-up of the first two games, it would have been absurd not to play on that. Equally, it would have been absurd to hold this game's dependence on its roots against it. Yes, people who aren't longtime fans of the first two games will have a great time with Return to Monkey Island, but Terrible Toybox has leveraged the incredible storytelling potential of fan favor to deliver something truly rare and spectacular for those in the bull's eye of the target audience. If that's you, go ahead and add a point to the score. Maybe this game finally found a way to exist thanks to the multimedia fad of remake as a game genre. But if that's the case, it had absolutely no influence on the game. It is created with total integrity and a contagious glee that sparks over every scene. We here at Nintendo Life give Return to Monkey Island on the Nintendo Switch a 9 out of 10. And now with the review done, it's time for Felix's personal thoughts. I'm gonna come clean out of the box. I've not played any of the original Monkey Island games, and this one was my first time dwelling into the franchise. And I must say, you can absolutely play this game without any experience to the others. Like said in the review, the game has a scrapbook in the start, and not only is that great for returning players to refamiliarize themselves with the story of the first two games, but for newcomers it works just as well. I felt I learned exactly what the first two games were about, because those were the ones that went into most detail, so when I jumped into the game I knew who Elaine was, who Guybrush was, who LeChuck was, and what their motives were. Of course I don't get all the references, but this game is just, it's so clever with the puzzles. A thing not mentioned in the review is that there are two difficulty options, casual and hardcore. The casual is for people who just want to have a fun adventure with simple puzzles, where the hardcore one, you essentially do the same puzzles but just with a few extra steps. And this is just such a fantastic way to again appealing to two audiences. You can have people like children and just people who don't have a ton of time play the casual modes, where the quests are a bit easier, but for people who've been longing for these games for decades, the developers have a bit more spice for them. Also, a wonderful addition is the hint book. It is a book that when you open it up, it gives out hints on how to proceed. Let's say there was a puzzle that you just don't know what to do, the book typically has the answer, but it does a very good job at not just giving away how to do it. It starts off very vague, and then you can say, well, I need another hint, and then it gets more and more specific. Of course, you could always just go to the hint book, but that would take the fun out of the experience. Use it when you absolutely are stuck and otherwise would just search on the internet. There's nothing I hate more than being stuck in a video game and just not knowing what to do, so this is so welcome, and more games should take inspiration from it. Just really groundbreaking in my opinion. When I was growing up, I played so many flash point-and-click adventures, and I've always absolutely adored them. So just that there's this whole series that is just so highly praised that is point-and-click adventure, well, I just hope that a game like this can really bring back the point-and-click adventure, because the way that this game controls other point-and-click adventures, take notes. This is the way to do it. because I've always wondered how would you play this game without a cursor. I was just afraid that you would move around a cursor with your controller and that would just not feel very good. But the way that they've created something where you just, go around with the character and use the L and R buttons, it just feels and plays better than I could have ever hoped for. But if you're not a fan of how the controller works, this game has touch controls on the Switch itself. It is something I realized like 8 hours into the game because I'd just been playing on my TV. I took it out and accidentally touched something and Guybrush went there. So if you want to play the classic click and point adventure, you can do so, and it works absolutely fantastic. The response time and just the flow of everything when you're touching the screen, oh, it's wonderful. Just that the developers took enough time to have 2 different ways to play the game is just to show how much they care about the community. The only weird thing about this game is that at default, the graphic settings is set to medium. Now when I was playing the first hour or so, I noticed, yeah, it looks a bit blurry. But I just thought that was a sacrifice they had to make to put it on Switch. But oh no. I went into the graphic settings and changed it from medium to high, and oh my god, it looks so much better. Everything is just crystal clear and it still runs perfect. So the question is, why doesn't it just at default have the settings at high? It's not like the Switches have different interior, like every Switch performs the same. And as a developer, you would of course want your game to look the best as it can. Maybe it's just an oversight, but to anyone thinking about getting this game, that is like the first thing you want to do, because this game is adorable. We have to talk about that art style. I saw a lot of bashing of it online about, oh, it's so different than the original games, but in motion it looks absolutely incredible. I'm a big sucker of original art styles, and this is truly something I've never seen before. I love when creators think of something new, think of something fresh. It's much more interesting than just playing something that looks like any other game. So just huge props to whoever made that art style. It is safe to say that after playing this game, I am most definitely going back and playing the originals, because if it's anything like this game, whew, I'm in for a ride. But that was everything I had to say about this game. Actually, there's one more thing. I posted on Twitter that I've just been really enjoying this game as a newcomer, and the voice actor himself of Guybrush Threepwood retweeted my tweet, which is just absolutely incredible. If you're watching this, thank you very much for that. It really made my day, and keep up the good work. You're like, the way you portray Guybrush is just magnificent. If you like this video, why don't you wait a couple of decades and then press that subscribe button? Actually, on a second thought, why don't you just press it right now? And don't forget to check out our website, nintendolife.com, for all sorts of Nintendo-related content. Stay safe, play some Return to Monkey Island, even if you're a newcomer. Felix from Nintendo Life here, out. And of course, it's also harvested for meta